Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So 54-year-old Texas resident Jalise Middleton, she responded to a social media post on January 4th of 2021. The post said that there would be little peace moving forward, and Jalise replied, quote, "Sadly, you are correct. Either way, war is coming." The following day, someone messaged Middleton and asked her how she felt about the January 6th event that was coming up in D.C., and Middleton wrote back, quote, "Pumped. Ass whoopin' coming. We're done." And in planning for the event, Middleton texted her husband and she said, quote, "Nobody is going to try to bring guns in without the guarantee of a large group. Further, these would be felony charges so far from home. With that said, I don't go anywhere planning to be a sitting duck. I carry a gun on my hip every day, so I bought mace, darts, and a taser that I'm having driven in so that I can carry it on the march." So on January 5th of 2021, Middleton and her husband traveled to D.C. They went to the Capitol the day before the Capitol attack, and they posed for pictures in front of fencing that was surrounding the building. And in their own photo, you can see very conspicuous area closed signs. They then moved to another side of the building, and Middleton's husband took photos of more fencing and more barricades. Those also contained area closed signs. The next day, January 6th, Middleton and her husband entered the restricted grounds. They arrived shortly after the initial breach at Peace Circle, and about 30 minutes after that, they maneuvered to the front of a really large group. They were standing right across the barricades from the police. So within minutes, the barricades began to come apart, and Middleton and his wife were bracing themselves, and they were resisting the officers' attempts to reestablish the line. Then the Middletons threw their full body weight, both husband and wife, into the barricades. An officer with the initials of TT reached for Middleton's husband. He moved out of the way, and when he did that, the officer accidentally made contact with Jalise. She then launches into a full-blown assault on this officer. So Jalise Middleton grabbed the officer's arm. She tried to pull him over the barricades. Her husband was also grabbing onto the officer's arm, and then she starts striking this officer. So she hits him, they said, in the arms, the chest, and the face with one hand, while she and her husband are still holding on to the officer's arm. She's holding on with the other hand. So another officer sees what's happening. He tries to intervene. And after the Middletons ignored his orders to let go of Officer TT, this other officer with the initials RC, he strikes the Middletons' arms with his baton to try to get them to release Officer TT. So at that point, Middleton's husband used a flag that he was carrying to assault Officer RC. So as Officer RC is trying to shield Officer TT from the Middletons' attack, Jalise Middleton grabs onto Officer RC's arm and tries to pull him into the mob. So eventually, the officer with the initials TT, he sprays the Middletons with chemicals. That's when they finally stopped. They finally left the immediate area. However, they still remained on the Capitol grounds for some time after that. So while they're still at the Capitol, Middleton texted a selfie to someone, and she claimed that the police attacked them. Interesting take, considering that Officer TT sustained scratches on his face from Middleton's nails and her ring. And he said that the pepper spray and other chemicals that were in the air exacerbated the pain from those scratches. He was also hit on the head by another member of Trump's mob while he's trying to fend off the Middletons. So following the Capitol attack, Middleton is boasting about her crimes to various people. So in messages, she wrote, quote, on the front lines, pushing into the Capitol and got past the fencing, but then we got beat by a cop and pepper sprayed, so we had to retreat. But you see, all our fellow patriots got in. In another message, she said, quote, we stormed that motherfucking castle. Another one said, we broke down the fencing, stormed the Capitol, got beat, pepper sprayed, and gassed. So we had to retreat, but we got the others in the building. And quote, we were coordinating to break down the final long gates to get to the doors. And then she also complained that, quote, Pence should have sent back the votes due to fraud, but she bragged in that same message saying, quote, we stormed the Capitol, which stopped the count. And when someone asked Middleton why people were fighting the police, she said, quote, to get in the Capitol to send them bastards a clear message that this won't be tolerated. So Middleton was arrested on April 21st of 2021. And in a superseding indictment, she was charged with 2 counts of assaulting officers, civil disorder, obstructing an official proceeding, entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and 2 counts of physical violence. Middleton refused a plea deal. She opted for a trial. And in February of 2024, the jury found her guilty on all counts. As you all know, though, the Supreme Court absurdly decided that the obstruction charge doesn't apply in these January 6 cases, or most, I should say. So they said unless the defendant's crime involves some sort of physical document, then no, it doesn't count. So the government dropped that one conviction, but Middleton was still facing a combined 25 years in prison, over 12 years of probation, and then more than $1 million in fines. However, the prosecutor requested 7.5 years in prison, 3 years of probation, $2,000 in restitution, and they asked for a fine to be determined by the court. So the prosecutor told the court the Middletons had shown absolutely no remorse for their crimes, especially Mrs. Middleton, and she repeatedly lied during her testimony during the trial. And even after her conviction, Middleton continued to spread misinformation about what happened at the Capitol. So, for example, in April of this year, she was on a right-wing show and she mocked Officer TT, the officer that she viciously attacked. And then Middleton told the audience, quote, he told the jury that I punched him in the face and it hurt. No, he did not. But whatever makes you feel better about yourself, Jalise. So U.S. District Judge Randolph Moss presided over the Middleton's case, and in the end, he sentenced Middleton to only 20 months in prison, 30 months of probation, and $2,000 in a fine. So no restitution, only $2,000 in a fine. Unfortunately, I have seen very clear sentencing disparities between men and women. I've mentioned that before. If a man did what she did to these officers, she would have absolutely received a longer sentence. It probably would have been double. So this is a complete joke. And as with her husband, the judge refused the prosecutor's request to have her immediately taken into custody. So instead, the judge said, oh no, she can self-surrender at a later date. All of Moss' decisions are a slap in the face of the officer or the officers who were injured that day. And this one included. I mean, this is ridiculous. She physically attacked an officer, left him with scratches on his face. Less than 2 years. So this judge is a disgrace, absolute disgrace. Like I said, I've seen this so many times. The women get much smaller sentences, much shorter sentences than the men for the same exact crimes. It's bullshit. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see if this is one of the ones that Donald Trump decides to pardon, you know, or those peaceful tourists just hanging out at the Capitol, doing nothing wrong, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, I will let you know when or if I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe to the channel. If you have not, please donate if you possibly can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.